we're good for both. We're good for both.
Okay,
Good.
hello.
Wait till Trevor sits down.
Yeah.
All right, real this time. Hello. Welcome back to another podcast. We have close to the full crew here again. With Anna Rose actually joining us for once. And she's also leading out today's podcast. So, take the floor.
Is that the intro? Is that the whole
Yeah,
intro?
that's good.
Okay. Cool. So, in honor of the month of July, where there's the national holiday,
Independence Day.
Fourth of July.
That thing, yeah.
And-
nobody calls it Independence Day. Anyways,
Do they actually call it
I don't know.
Independence
well, it
Day?
is Independence Day,
Well,
but
I
nobody
mean,
calls
that
it
just
that.
holds it more like political or like governmental weight
But
to it
everyone's
than
just like, 4th of July. Like, this is the
Yeah.
South. Come on
Anyways,
now.
it's July.
I love the
And
South.
Independence Day and 4th of July. So this week's topic is Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite. I'm just kidding.
So, what is Christian nationalism? Like, what are your first thoughts whenever you hear the words Christian and nationalism together? What do you think of?
I think of the combination of like church and state. I may or may not have put some thought into this beforehand, but you know,
Cheater.
church and state. Yeah, I'm sorry for showing up to the meeting and being a cheater, but
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Just, just church and state and how they connect and if they should be separated or if they should be together.
So what is nationalism?
Okay, well, Christian nationalism. I have the definition of that. Do you want the definition of nationalism?
Well, either.
Okay. Well, first, let's go nationalism.
Just go with it,
Nationalism, Google says, is the identification with one's own nation and support of its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment of interests of other nations.
so it's just patriotism, basically.
Like
Oh,
extreme.
Yeah, extreme.
Because patriotism
That's just
isn't at
kinda like-
the expense of other nations.
Yeah,
And
that's just I'm proud to be an American. with that.
I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
You know that song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to live in the United States and not.
Right.
Christian nationalism, however, is a similar ideology, but it is when Christian nationalism is Christianity-affiliated religious nationalism. Christian nationalists primarily focus on internal politics, such as passing laws that reflect their view of Christianity and its role in political and social life. So that is what Google says Christian nationalism is. So if you could live in a world that was identical to the one we live in now, except it didn't have the separation of church and state, would you?
No.
No.
Why?
Well, okay, first off, just speaking from historical things, that's never gone well.
No, that's the whole reason we came to America.
Yeah,
what
it's too
historical
escape.
things?
So you have the Crusades, obviously. That was a big
The
one.
Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah, the whole Holy Roman Empire, England even. Really, just
Church
like
of
all of them. Any
All the above.
like, yeah, any nation basically before like 1500, you know, all of them had some religious center, and that ended up being their downfall one way or another. And also, there's what came along with that is the abuse of said power granted by the church to like being sanctioned by God or whatever, and then basically you're free to say, well, because I'm in the government, I speak for God, and God won, you know. You can just kind of slap his name on anything, and now it's officially endorsed by God, which I don't think is true. Even if I think he does lead, but I don't think he endorses everything.
I feel like if that were to like come true, there would be no way to like not overthrow, but like go above the state or like
Yeah,
the
there's no
church
way
because
to,
it's
like,
the same
oppose it,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. You'd be stuck no matter where you tried to go.
Well, yeah, and that's what a lot of the arguments use, like in the past and stuff. It was like you're opposing the state, so you're opposing the church and therefore God.
Yeah.
and it's hard to at that point it's hard to
When you go
disagree.
against God, you're automatically wrong. Like,
But yeah, well, and like it's hard because you slap that on there, and then like, for all you know, that's the truth,
yeah.
and so you can't rebel against or even disagree with a thing because no, it was sanctioned by God, so it must be. Even though governments at the end of the day are man, and men are selfish, so
Yeah.
I mean like mankind. I mean yes, but
Also, I don't know if I'm allowed to like contribute to the conversation because
You
I'm
are.
the host or whatever, but
absolutely
Go
not.
for it.
I guess we're moving on. No. But just to add another perspective, for me personally, I wouldn't live in a world where there was no separation of church and state because I think that if the church and the state were one entity, it would only be like one church. You know, like a religion. It'd be a specific religion that was
No one would have a choice.
yeah, that it was a specific religion that was collaborating with the state or just like with the state. And I believe that living in a country where there's religious freedom, no matter what religion you're in, that's like a really important thing. So I say no.
I feel like if, everyone, you want to look at the bright side, you want to look for like the good in people. If we had like a good representation of the church in like the state, I feel like maybe it'd be okay. But I feel like everyone who's ever gone into power in the church and that's like in the state both automatically like takes a hold of their power and just like uses it
Yeah.
for bad. They don't use it
That's
for
like
good.
the, slapping the, well, it's like having a God approved stamp. Well, I have the stamp, so that must mean it's right,
Oh yeah, no. Totally.
So it's hard. You can't really trust, I personally wouldn't trust anybody here on earth to speak on God's behalf and like for everything, I think there's obviously people who can, like we have pastors and stuff, but that's like from the Bible, and I mean yes they can speak on social issues, but then just with human nature and you throw a power dynamic in there and then it gets all crazy. We even have pastors here, or not here, but like in the world or nation state even, that have gone corrupt with, in the grand scheme of things, what little power they have, so I definitely wouldn't
They
trust.
use it to their advantage.
Yeah, I don't.
Which also goes against the idea of the church, I feel like, to like abuse of power.
Mm.
Well, I know there are a lot of like churches like in any religion that abuse power, but I kind of feel like it goes against the point. Okay.
Mm.
Do you have
Any
any
thoughts?
thoughts?
No.
Okay, then I guess I'll move on and change the camera angle for the first time.
Wow.
Which one is it? This one?
This one?
This one? Hi. Okay. Next question. As a lawmaker, so let's pretend like we went through law school, like we were poli-sci majors, we're in Senate?
smart.
I don't know, Senate, House of Congress, whoever makes the laws or passes the laws, like in the last thing. As a lawmaker, would you pass a bill that was drafted based on Christian ideology? And by based on Christian ideology, I mean like the bill was formed, backed up, and like pushed fully based on Christian ideology.
So like with a
So,
church intent.
Like there is like
Really?
the main reason for the bill is to push Christian ideology into
Like,
into
What about do not
lawmaking.
murder?
Well, do not
Would that
murder
be
is a
considered
Christian.
one?
It is. It's based on Christian ideology, but it's not only based on Christian ideology. Do you get
else
what I
is it
mean?
based on?
Because like murder is
Moral
like
rights.
is moral, and it also is like a lawmaking right,
Where
or like
did that
not
come from?
lawmaking, but like it's like in the law,
Mhm.
like like
It doesn't have to do with the church.
yeah.
but
You don't have to
that's
be
where they get it
Christian.
from.
You don't have to be Christian to believe that murdering is bad, right? But there are some things like some
But you have to believe that.
yeah, some things
be
that
a
are like
Christian.
based in Christianity, like some beliefs that are based in Christianity. Would you as a lawmaker? Well, like that's the point. Like, would you as a lawmaker seek to pass those bills? We're not saying it's good or bad right now.
So,
We're
like,
just
passing-
saying like, would you?
So like passing like a bill that
Oh,
says
sorry. Let me change the camera.
like the only legal diet is kosher. Right?
Yeah.
That's base Is it,
That's
like,
based
what
on
you're
a
saying?
religious ideology.
And it's imposing that ideology directly. Okay. Yeah. No, I don't. I don't think it's a good idea by any standard, just because there are people that don't abide by that. It's like, yeah, I don't know. And there's been so many disputed, and just knowing how much controversy has come with the disputing of, like, I know, like, specifically prayer in the public school system, and
That's a different question.
my bad. Well, Christian-based curriculum in the public school system, because that was, like, standard up until, like, 1850s is when it started being disputed, and then I think and then after that, sometime after, it switched over to, like, the Darwinism curriculum, but for a while it was Christian-based curriculum in the school systems. And then when the theory of evolution and Darwinism started coming in, that was a huge, like, that was splitting schools and everything, like, just over that one thing. And that's not even a law, that's just, that was like school decision, or I don't know, like institution based, or like specific
State.
location. It wasn't like the state's discretion. The state never said you have to do this curriculum or whatever. It was kind of up to the school itself to choose its curriculum.
But the school still had like a choice. I feel like if you would set a law in place, like they wouldn't have a choice.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying, is that it was the school's choice and it wasn't even the state's choice, and look how big of an uproar it made.
Yeah.
And so then you want this and you expect it to go over well? No. But, doing stuff like Trevor said with Christian-backed morals or Christian-based morals, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as it's not like an imposition
Yeah.
of Christianity, because that's just hard to deal with from a lawmaking standpoint, or
I
even enforcement.
I feel like it depends on what it is, though. Like, it's so like broad, and you have to be like, well, if it's this, then sure, go ahead. But if it's this, no, don't go do that. Like, if you're taking away someone's choice and whether they want to do it or not, and it's not like hurting anybody or bad for anybody or breaking any other laws, then like they don't have that choice anymore. They don't have that freedom. And I feel like the more laws that we put in place, whether it's Christian based or not, then like we're not supposed to force our religion on anybody. So we can't like, I feel like that would be bad for the Christian like viewpoint.
Yeah.
I feel like the wording of the question might have been a little wrong, because it is kind of confusing. But like Trevor was saying, I do agree there's like a lot of laws that are which have like a moral compass that lines up with the moral compass of Christianity, like just like do not murder, do not steal. Like those are things that are like in the Ten Commandments, obviously. The thing for me, the thing that gets me is I feel like legislation and laws in general should be representative of the entire nation that they're governing. So I do believe that like a lot of religions in general have like the same moral code, but if we're to push something that's like specific to Christianity, like the Sunday law or the Saturday law, if there was a Saturday law, or if there will be a Sunday or Saturday law, like I believe that's like something that's like no. Or if we were to push something that said, oh, you can't, like you have to eat kosher foods, or you have to wear hijabi because it's modest, or if we were to like enforce a dress code based on the things in Leviticus that are in the Bible, like that is something that I think is like way too far. And I'm sure there are like less like extreme examples, like there are probably more mild examples that could be like sneaking their way into legislation, but I feel like anything that is of that nature, I would say hard no to.
So it almost sounds more like a Christian bias in legislation rather than a Christian imposition.
Even a Christian bias, I feel like is okay to a certain extent, just for me. Because like Christian bias doesn't necessarily have to be harmful to legislation as long as there is like an opposing bias with it. Like I feel like if there's a Christian bias in legislation, as long as there's somebody who will come in and be like, okay, but what about this? What about this? What about this? Like,
well, I'm saying like a law that was passed that like it's technically not imposing Christianity or anything on anyone, but it has such a strong favor to Christians rather than like something like all headgear must be removed indoors. Like let's say that there was I don't know, there was some big thing and the covering of a head led to somebody's death or harm or whatever, and so it took to legislation and they were like, okay, we want to pass laws that ban all headwear indoors, right? So then like that doesn't affect Christians at all, really. Almost depending on which Christian you ask, that would be good, you know. But then you look at like Muslims and a lot of those where they believe like hijabi and stuff, that's modest. Right? To me that kind of gives a Christian bias just because of the neglect from the other group. And that's a more extreme example, but you know, stuff that benefits Christians more than others within the nation. I forgot what I was saying at the end. But you know, something that would benefit Christians more than any other religion or group of people. Like, is that...
I understand what you're saying. And yeah, I do think that's a problem. Like, just in general with legislation. But I don't know if it, like, has to do with Christian nationalism. You know?
Yeah.
It might. But that is a good point.
It could.
Yeah, it could.
Potentially.
And depending on how it was pushed, especially.
If they're being sleazy in the government. Which we know they are, but it's fine. Do you have anything to add, Trevor?
No.
Are you sure?
Alright. Next question. Change of camera angle.
Why don't we change it to this one?
Because I don't like that angle.
Well, hey.
Next question. What would you do if the United States of America declared Christianity as its official religion?
It's tough.
I don't know whether that would be a good thing or a bad thing.
Just what would you do? What would be your like initial reaction? Like you saw it on Twitter, blah blah blah, or searching through Instagram or Discord or whatever you have.
Yeah, I see it on
Oh,
Discord.
looking at the news like old person. Okay, and you see right there, smack center, they say United States has declared Christianity as its official religion. It doesn't mean that you're not allowed to have other religions, just the United States has an official religion and it's official. Like this is their official. You can be whatever else, but official is Christianity.
So like how our language is English, but you can still speak other languages?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Because, I mean, English is the official language of... I don't know. I would definitely disagree with that because that brings... More than anything, you know, that brings in the social... Like, the social aspect of it to where... Oh, there's a word. I just forgot it. But there's... like a stigma now against others because the government has basically gone out and said, we like this one and we're not a big fan of the other ones. Right? And I'm not a fan of that because that produces a sort of exclusivity, social exclusivity. That's what I was thinking of. But which I know, you know, looking back, like biblically, like Jesus never wanted any sort of exclusivity, right? The Pharisees got upset at him for not having that exclusivity, you know, not for dining and eating with the people he didn't deem worthy. Right, so doing that, I feel like that brings in, that will just push more people away. And as a Christian myself, and you know, at the end of the day, wanting more people to come to the church and you know, you give their life to Christ. That's just not a good thing. Because how many people would go to like a super conservative churchy church, right?
Churchy
And-
church.
Do you know what I mean when I say like churchy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the viewers know what you mean when you say churchy?
Okay, when I say churchy, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it.
Be careful not to describe a specific church.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Luckily, I've only really gone to this church my whole life, and it's not a churchy church. Well, yeah, not a super churchy church.
Yeah, I was like, watch out.
There,
You know how like churches do that thing and they're like churchy, but like our church is churchy, but it's
well,
not
because our
churchy
church is more, our church is more relaxed, laid back. We have drums in service. Oh my gosh, but we have drums in service, and
Oh yeah, this is our
you know, our
drummer guy.
pastor gets up and he does sermons in like ripped jeans or whatever, right? But
He
then,
wears those jeans with the
Yeah.
lines on them.
regardless of how we feel about the jeans, you know, he gets up and
We're
preaches.
more
in
of
them.
like a liberal
Yeah.
church instead of a conservative church.
And I'm not saying
You mean like conservative churches?
kind of, but
you
there's
can't
like a
brag
certain
on-
there's like a certain atmosphere that comes with like a churchy church, because it's almost more like the prim and proper. You know, like that's what I mean when I say churchy.
Like you get looked down upon if you show up in a shirt and jeans.
Not necessarily that, but it's just like.
But that
the-
also, it's important to note that like not all conservative churches
No.
are
No, no.
not all conservative churches are
That's
churchy
that's what I'm
churches.
saying is
Yeah.
just because you're conservative doesn't mean you have to. You know,
It's the
it's just
vibe
kind
you
of
get.
prim and proper. You know, like, you know, come to church well put together. That kind of. I don't know how to describe it. I hope people understand what I mean by churchy. But I forgot where I was going. Oh yeah. So excuse me, but if we
ADHD
made
kicking in.
if we made the United States a churchy church, you know, how is that going? Like, just from my standpoint, especially with this new generation, I don't think too many young people are attracted to churchy churches. I'm just gonna say that now, and that brings in a
Not too many young people are attracted to church at all. So Why does
exactly.
it matter?
Well, because even the few that are, they're not attracted to churchy churches, right? So even if that is the few, we still want to bring them in.
Okay, what do you think about it, Trevor?
What was the question?
We've had to distract
The
them.
question, the question is, what
We've
would
given
you
it too
do
much power.
if the United States of America declared Christianity as its official religion? Go, Trevor.
Well, if it didn't limit the other religions, then I don't think it would really matter. As long as they weren't like teaching it and or making other churches switch to Christianity or enforcing it on public schools, making them teach it, have religion class and stuff like that. I don't think it would be a big issue.
I feel like my initial like reaction would probably be like, oh hey, like we're getting recognized almost like advertisement because we don't really have that much. But then like after it sank in, it'd be like, oh, like oh no, like everyone's going to look down on us or think that we're better than everyone else. Like all Christians are going to be like, hey, we're the official
Yeah, it gives
like,
like an implied,
religion of the United States. Like we're better than everybody else.
like an implied supremacy. or
Yeah.
whatever.
And then no one would want to like come to our church and see what we're all about, especially because every like Christian church is different. Like as soon as you walk into a Christian church, there's a different vibe and there's different people and but I don't think a lot of people would understand that. They'd just be like, oh, Christians in general, just stay away from them.
I mean, there's already enough of a. I feel like there's already enough of a uptight, judgmental stereotype with Christians in general as it is now.
Oh, for sure, and it just get 10 times worse.
But then if it's like that, it's almost like Christianity's the favorite child of America.
For sure.
I mean, okay,
I don't know.
but Christianity already is the favorite child of America.
That is
We have
true.
under God, like for liberty and justice, like whatever,
To be
under
fair,
God,
that's what it
blah
was.
blah blah.
That's what it was founded on.
Yeah,
And
because like
that
our
was a difference of times, because then Christianity was taught in public schools and stuff.
yeah,
so-
our nation was like founded on Christianity in general because our founding fathers were Christian, Protestant, whatever, all that stuff. So I get that Christianity is a really prominent religion in America. But again, circling back, I think what makes America about to compliment America. What makes America so special and different?
What's wrong with complimenting
It's just cringy. It's cringy to me. There's nothing wrong with complimenting America. But what makes America so special and different than other countries No, I think I just deleted all of my notes. No, I didn't. Sorry. Okay. Is that there's so much diversity and there's freedom of like diversity, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, all that stuff, all that good stuff. So I think that right now is very representative of what America is, like freedom and diversity. But if there was a religion that was official, like if Christianity became the official religion of America, it would place on America like a kind of like a reputation, I guess. Like, and not, it doesn't have to be a terrible reputation, not a bad one. It's not a bad thing to have an official religion, I guess, because like other countries do, like
the Middle East.
Yeah, the
China,
Middle East has like
India.
official, like they
It's
have
like
official
the
religions.
genocides.
The only thing I think, the thing I think of whenever I think of official religions in those countries, though, is that like if I think of those countries, that's one of the first things that I think of. And like I think it's a good thing to an extent, and it's also harmful to an extent. And I think I just think that I would want to live in a country, or I like living in a country. Not that it's bad to live in one of those countries, but like I like living in a country where like the people aren't generalized like that, and it's like diverse and free. So yeah, I also think that if Christianity became the national religion, then it would be like kind of a snowball effect where people might feel a little bit of pressure to conform to the official religion, because normally whenever a country has an official religion, it's that like the vast majority is that. And like I'm pretty sure a majority of Americans are Christians, but it's not
70%
like,
or so.
but it's not
It's
like
actually
95%.
40%
Like,
like atheists and like
yeah,
30%
it's
is Christian.
like it's diverse. It's like, and yeah. I
And
feel
there's
like
so
it
many
might-
different variations of
religion-wise, Christianity
Yeah.
is still, like if we're talking about just practicing religions, Christianity is number one, but that's because we're like, I forget the statistic.
bunch
I'm
of
wanting to
different
say it's like,
factions.
well, there's the
it's
different
like
branches of
30%.
us. That's why.
Well, and I mean just Christianity as a whole, because Catholicism is like separate than that. So I think like, I don't know, I'm wanting to say Christianity is the largest religion, but it's not the majority of the people.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, don't quote me on that.
A lot of people
Look
say
it up.
they're Christians, so even though a majority of them don't go to church, like
Yeah, that's,
not many people go to church or interact with God, or I don't know what they're called, but they only go on like Easter and Christmas.
Oh,
Christian.
yeah.
Christian Christians. Or isn't that what it's called? It's
Like-
like, or is it like Christmas?
Okay, but there are a lot of, okay, that's like a separate issue, but I do believe you can be Christian and not like be the most with God. It's just like your relationship with God, really. But
But like you
Yeah.
see,
different issue.
A lot of
Those
people
people's
just
actions.
answer, it's complicated. But that's basically
It
that's
can
what
be
it's equated to. But
Next question.
anyways, next question.
Is
Sorry.
everybody's ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Switch the cameras.
Yeah.
Next
We're getting good at
question.
this.
Should teachers/faculty be allowed to pray in class? Michael jumped the gun on this question, but we're still gonna go over it.
Yeah, I didn't talk about it too much.
Does anybody else have an opinion? Let's let somebody else talk first.
Okay, I'll go first.
I've been trying.
I think they should be allowed to pray in school as long as they don't like force other kids to like participate, if that makes sense. They can, whether it's out loud or just by themselves, or whether it's before they eat or whether it's before class, if they wanted to, I feel like they should be able to, as long as they're not trying to force it on other kids or other like faculty members.
What about like kindergarten classes though?
I mean, they should still be able to, as long as you don't like force little kids to do it. And if they
Well, so then
pick
what's
up
gonna-
on it, then they pick up on it.
Well, and I mean that's kind of the thing with like voting and like age of consent laws, is because that's when like a child, well, that's when they deem that somebody can make decisions for themselves, right? And so it's hard to be like, you know, like if you go and you're in a group of like, you have 6 4-year-olds, let's just say, right? 5 out of the 6 of them go to church. The other one is Muslim or doesn't go to church. Somebody who's not Christian, Jewish or whatever, and you say, okay, let's bow your heads to pray, but you don't have to bow your head to pray if you don't want to. Is that, you know, is that 1 out of the 6? Are they going to be like, no? Or, you know, it's like a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because then there's the peer pressure and.
I get what you're saying, but I feel like we should open up the idea of like letting the teachers and the staff be able to express themselves, especially in their workplace, because that's like, you know, where they spend most of their time, especially for teachers and staff. They're at school like all the time. Speaking from Mr. Siri, who's like at school all the time. And I feel like if the parents have a problem with it, the kid goes home and he's like, we prayed in class today. And they're like, oh, why would you like pray in class? Like, I feel like at that point, the parents need to not necessarily like force their child to like, I don't know where I'm going with this. I feel like the child should not necessarily make a decision, but should be able to participate if they want to, if that makes sense.
That kind of can turn into a slippery slope, though, I think. Because, like, should we allow a child to do everything that they want to do? Should we allow a child to go on that motorcycle? Should we allow a child to
but it doesn't
eat
harm
that,
them.
read that?
But it doesn't harm them.
But ultimately, even if it's good for a child or bad for a child, the parents have
like a say in it.
Custody of the child.
That's
so that's their child, and it's kind of like illegal to like.
Well, I'm not saying you have to force the child to pray or anything.
Well, yeah, but even if they want to, like, if a minor came to church here.
Mm-hmm.
And we welcome them with open arms, because that's what you do at church. You welcome anybody with open arms. But their parent says they're not allowed to come here. You can't allow them to come here. We'll press charges. We have to decline them because that's the law. Like, the parent has. Is that not? I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
So we wouldn't want to
fact check me if that's wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's how we have to do it, because the parent ultimately has final say over a minor.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the praying in school thing?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, to me, it's kind of the same thing as like child release forms, or like, so the picture can get put in the yearbook and stuff, right? Like, ultimately, like, it's really the student who's going to be affected, right? Mm-hmm. But the parents still have to sign off on it. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, albeit that it's a little different context, but at the end of the day, I feel like this is still a student versus parent choice thing, that it's ultimately the student who's going to be affected, but it still has to legally be the parent to make the choice. You know, I don't...
It's just the whole minors thing.
And I get where you're going with it. It might work in like high schools, for instance, but I don't think like elementary schools or whatever, just because I know for me personally, peer pressure played such a huge thing, and if I wasn't doing it but I saw my best friend doing it, then I would start doing it just because my best friend was doing it.
That would be the same in high school too.
Yeah, albeit
even into adulthood.
But I feel like if you said only like high school or only like a certain age group of teachers was allowed to do it, then the rest of the teachers would be like, hey, if they're doing it, why can't I do it? Well, and then it'd be this whole...
If it's a matter of expression, the teacher can say they're Christian and put, you know, and have like a cross thing on their desk. Actually, I don't know if they can do that. But like they can say they're Christian and express their own Christianity as much as they want, but they can't bring everybody together and say, okay, we're all going to practice my religion together. You know, and I don't...
Well, I'm not saying they would even do that or necessarily. I'm just saying the teacher could be like, I'm going to pray now. You can continue what you're doing, and I'm just going to do... If you want to like respect what I'm doing, or if you don't want to, whatever, that's on you, but I'm going to do this for me.
The teacher should probably just not bring it up. Just start praying, and if kids ask questions about what they're doing, explain it to them.
Oh, like start praying for themselves? I think they can. Like, you can pray over your own food, but I don't think you can pray in class.
Yeah, because that's the whole issue is corporate prayers.
Yeah.
Teacher-led corporate prayers.
Yeah, teacher-led corporate prayers, because like students can go and they can
Right.
like start their own corporate prayers, and as long as it's not, and that's the issue too of it being, once it's public school doing it, then it's therefore state endorsed, which is, that's like something like a first step or a side effect, whatever, of an official religion, right? And that's the whole issue of why they can't do it, and it's not.
It's just weird how they teach evolution and stuff in science class, but you can't teach people how to pray in religion. It doesn't seem.
Yeah, I had
Doesn't
to
seem
deal
to
with
line
that.
up
I had to
as
deal
well.
with that at public school. I took a botany class, and my botany professor was like, "Oh, this plant was around when the dinosaurs were around, like 1.7 billion years ago," and he would tell us to write it down in our book because we had to make like plant diversity books and whatever, and he would tell us to write it down, and I basically like refused to write it down. I was like, "Look, this is not what I believe in. This is not what I think is right. So mark me off if you want to, mark my grade, whatever, but I'm not going to write this down. This is not what I believe."
I think it should just be enforced equally, because like the focus is like on prayer for Christian religions or other religions that pray, but no one really talks about evolution because they don't see it as part of a religion, so that's why they keep it in there, even though it conflicts with almost every religion. Which
It's a theory. I think they should teach all theories. So I think evolution should be taught, even though I don't agree with it. I think they should also teach creationism because it's another theory.
you should have the option.
We should be aware
Oh,
of
I
all of the
heard-
different theories.
Oh, that's another thing though. This is kind of off topic, but if we're gonna talk about it, in like science courses, I believe, or like scientists who like write like science books, textbooks that are going to schools, they treat theory of evolution and like Big Bang Theory like they're theories, but they're like scientifically proven theories.
Which I don't
And
understand.
like, well, yeah, but like in the science world, where none of us are really like scientists, so don't really know everything. But like the theory of creationism is not treated as the same like level of scientifically proven because I don't know why, but
Well, yeah, because
but they're like different, like they're on different levels, so that's why they don't teach it.
Like when they
But-
say that this
Okay.
tree was like around like 100,000 years ago or whatever, because we can count the little rings inside. Like, what?
Well,
Carbon
No, no, no.
dating.
well,
and stuff like that.
the whole reason, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the whole reason why they don't teach creation is because it involves an unfalsifiable evidence.
Yeah.
Or, not evidence.
Source,
Piece.
force.
Yeah, there's something unfalsifiable about the theory, which means it can't be proven right or wrong. And that's just
Same
kind of
can
up
go for both of the other theories, Big Bang and
Technically
like
not.
we
They
came from
found.
apes.
I mean-
like
they found
that's the
some
same thing.
explainable
I mean,
thing.
technically, with the scientific logic, since it's contained within the universe, theoretically it should be able to be explained.
But it's not. So they should take the same as in
Well-
like they're both they can't be explained.
We don't know why they do that either.
Like,
but,
well,
but they don't.
I don't know. Like, and I'm not trying. I don't know. I obviously don't believe in evolution, but like, I can see why they do it is because if something's not explained, that doesn't mean we shouldn't teach it because we have like quantum mechanics and stuff and all of that stuff and for all all of those things are just theories as of right now, but
Like
they're the
proven
best.
theories.
They're the
like
best
the best
we've
we
got.
Yeah.
And that's the closest interpretation we can come to fully 100% proving it, instead of throwing in stuff like pyrons and all of these things which, to a scientist and someone who's looking strictly at Earth things aren't real. And that God is also kind of like that to scientists and someone who's looking strictly within our universe. he's not real, you know, and
Yeah.
that's
Well, it's hard to like.
and you can't even
Yes.
test if he's real or not. I mean, yes, you have faith tests, but there's really no way to scientifically prove God. I mean, you can give probabilities and all of this
Yeah.
stuff, but you can't put. There's no sure facto thing that's this proves that God is real.
Like there's scientific proof of like biblical events, but I don't think
It's
there's like because God, you're like God. God. I don't like. There might be like some like theologian.
Theologian.
That's it. There might be some theologian who's like completely laughing at us right now, but I think that's right.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and,
okay.
you know, and all of
next
this is
next
evidence-based.
podcast topic: science and religion. Religion.
That would be a
and
good one.
Hey, you should do
science.
that. You should do that. Yeah.
Can do that.
Yeah.
That actually-
If you want to
Alright.
see that, comment down below.
For sure.
One
Or
viewer.
don't say anything.
The one viewer we have, yeah.
Okay, wrapping it up.
Okay. For this
Yeah.
last question, I would like us to close our eyes.
Okay.
I want you to imagine. Close your eyes. We're doing an exercise.
Close your eyes, Trevor.
I would like you to
Meditating or
imagine.
something?
Yes.
No, we're visualizing.
Meditating
Okay.
on the Bible, Trevor.
I would like you to visualize if Jesus was here. You're not closing your eyes.
Neither are
It's
Okay.
you.
easier to
Yes, I am.
It's easier to visualize on a white
I have
surface.
to, okay. They can't even see if you're closing your eyes or not, so I'm just gonna say it. If Jesus was here, like in present day, like in this political environment, religious environment, if he lived in our society.
Yeah.
You live in a society
If Jesus
with
lived in a
people.
society, what would he do?
What would Jesus do?
Let me tell God what to do real fast. I don't know.
No. We're hypothesizing. It's different.
I don't know. Well, what I think was, what I found kind of interesting is that was kind of one of the points in his ministry. He just kind of, he didn't leave it alone necessarily, but there wasn't tons of emphasis on that. You know, it was kind of give to Caesar what's Caesar's and, you know, give to God what's God's. You know, like, I don't think he was too focused on that. He was more focused on the people.
He mainly just
Routine.
tried to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
He wasn't really
He,
one specific way.
yeah, he was there to help the people. You know, he wasn't a politician. He was a healer, teacher, good guy, whatever you want to call him, right? He wasn't, but the one thing he wasn't was a politician. So, I mean, well, asked about it, yeah, I think he would, you know, give some iteration of give to Caesar what's Caesar's and give to God what's God's. But at the same time, I don't think he would go on a whole political campaign around America, separation of church and state, or bring Christianity into America. You know,
Yeah, I don't think it'd be his main point at all, really. But I also think Jesus, he seems like a cool guy or whatever. But I feel like Jesus was very against the idea of totalitarian teachings in religion, like blah 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 blah, of like firmly rooted, like, you know what I mean? Because like in the Pharisees, they had some type of let me just and you know what I mean?
Right.
No, the Pharisees or the Sadducees or whatever religious leaders, they had a very like black and white way of teaching the Bible and like
It's
religious
this way or
teachings
no
and
way.
stuff, like this way or that way or no way. But Jesus, whenever he came in with these teachings, he was very like unorthodox, because he wasn't like that. He was like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? There is gray, you know? So I feel like in the case, in the situation that there would be a like a combined church and state, like I'm thinking of the Holy Roman Empire, or like the Church of England, where like the
Vatican City.
yeah, all that stuff, where the religious leader was the political leader, the government leader. It was like very like a totalitarian type of religious teachings. Do you like you're catching my drift?
Yeah.
I
know
feel
where
like
you're going.
Okay.
I feel like Jesus would be against that type of like totalitarian religious blah 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 blah. This is how it goes blah blah blah.
Yeah. Well, God. It's a talk
Like, it wouldn't
about the
be-
point you were trying to get to, because I don't think I necessarily agree with all of the gray area stuff, but like I get what you're going with the government thing, and I think that just goes down to God. I mean, God gave us the Bible for a reason, right? And that was so that everybody has access to it and can live by that. So we don't need a pope or somebody who is quote unquote getting everything directly from God, right? We don't need like a direct mouthpiece. We don't really have
Then why did we have
prophets, but
prophets?
well, that was a different time when we didn't have the teachings of Jesus and Israel was going wild and crazy, and those were supposed to be and the only reason I say that Israel was going wild and crazy is those were supposed to be the model people.
And they were
They
like,
were
party.
not the model people.
RJ, they were the most like average people in average.
I feel like they were just like
That's
They
the
were
awesome.
frat boys of
They were
America, or not America, but of like the world. They were like party, college, like let's go get
on
drunk.
mean,
Sundays
there's-
they dress up for church, but
Yeah,
yeah, I don't. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I do think Jesus is against. No, I shouldn't say that. I don't think that there should be someone who claims to speak directly from God, right? Which was what an totalitarian
Totalitarian.
that word leader would do under a Christian state, if that makes sense. So because then when they would pass a law, that would imply that this is what God said, and even if there are things that God said to do, it's kind of like putting words in God's mouth, especially like with taxes and
No, yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. High five.
but- okay, I don't know if
Two half points makes a full one.
I don't know if that makes any sense or if I'm right or wrong. That's just my interpretation, way of looking at it. Got to put that disclaimer on there.
Points.
I just don't think he would want to force any type of religion on anybody. I feel like he would be like, these are my teachings, these are what I believe. If you believe, come join me. If you don't believe, don't join me.
Fair enough.
I know what I'm talking like. Jesus would be like, look, I know that this is right, and you have your own choice, you have your own opinion, and you are very capable of making your own decision. But this is what I believe, this is what I see, this is what I do. If you think this is right, then share my teachings and come join me.
But Jesus,
in ministry never forced anybody to join.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But
it's just like
Jesus
it's your
also-
choice.
not like forcing people to join, but Jesus also like voiced whenever he thought something was wrong.
Yeah,
For sure.
Like he didn't hold back.
there's
Like stinking
like in the
brood of
temple.
vipers.
Yeah,
You're dirt under my left toe, scum. He didn't hold back.
and then there's also the time of the temple where
So-
it's just
Yeah, I feel like he'd be like, that's a little bit, and then
Sketch.
he like turn back to his own crew, be like, God's love, like
The truth, the Bible, peace and
But-
love.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, cool. That probably
was
went on.
that it?
Yeah.
That was a longer one, I think, but
Was it?
What did you do? You're not supposed to hold down on it.
Oh no. Okay.
Okay.
That concludes our podcast topic. This was Christian nationalism.
what a fun topic.
Thank
See you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks is next podcast.
Tuesday. Next podcast
Cafe
on the
Youth
24th.
is the 24th.
The
Which
24th.
camera? The Cafe
This one.
Cafe Youth is the 24th.
Be there or
Come out.
don't. I don't care.
You
Actually,
be
no,
there
we
or
do
be
care.
square,
We
and I would
care.
like to see a human be square. So,
Let's do it.
and we need picture
Invite your
proof of you
friends.
being a square if you're not there. So,
Invite your friends. How do I end it? Do I end it?
Yeah.
press the record button.
Bye, guys.
Let's stop red square.